Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Girls on the Grid. As you know, this week we're heading to Silverstone where we will have the first ever sprint race in Formula One. So we thought we'd tell you a bit more about how they work and what they actually are. So, as I've just said, for the first time in Formula One history, we'll be seeing sprint races at the race weekends. But what are they? So officially, this 30-minute race will be called sprint qualifying, with the finishing order of the race determining the starting grid of the Sunday Grand Prix. So how many laps does the sprint qualifying actually have? The sprint race runs up to 100 kilometers, so 62 miles. Depending on the circuit F1 is using on a sprint race weekend, the lap count will vary. For the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, there is last 17 laps, but if Interlagos hosts a sprint race later this season, the sprint race will last for 24 laps due to the shorter lap distance. So depending on the circuit, that's how many laps that will be driven. But every race that will be 100 kilometers or 62 miles driven during the sprint qualifying. The whole weekend looks a bit different because on the Friday you already have qualifying for the sprint race on Saturday. So the results for the qualifying on Friday will determine the starting grid for the sprint race on Saturday. And the finishing order of the sprint race itself, as we've just said, will determine the starting order of the grid on Sunday. So the sprint race winner will be credited as the pole sitter, not the driver who has the fastest lap in the Friday qualifying session.
So how does sprint qualifying affect championship points? Only the top 3 finishers in the sprint race will be awarded points. The sprint race winner receives 3 points, second place 2 points, and third place 1 point. So tyre restrictions are different during sprint qualifying. Teams will receive 12 sets rather than the usual 13, and they must only use soft tyres in qualifying unless the session is wet. The biggest change is that the tyres used during qualifying do not have to be used during the race. There's a free choice of tyres for both the sprint race and the Grand Prix on Sunday. Parc Fermé restrictions will now come into effect on Friday ahead of qualifying, instead of Saturday as it would on a normal weekend. This will prevent teams from setting up their cars specifically to take advantage of the format. They're designed to increase the on-track action and engage fans in a new and informative way, according to F1's commercial rights holder, Liberty Media.
So the whole concept of sprint qualifying and sprint races isn't something new to the world of Formula racing. In Formula 2, we've already got 2 sprint races on Saturday, which consists of 120 kilometers or around 74 miles, and the feature race on Sunday, which is around 170 kilometers or around 105 miles long. With 3 races and only 1 qualifying session taking place per event, the results of the Friday's final classification of the qualifying session will determine the starting grid for the Sunday's feature race. I got to scroll. The starting grid of Saturday's sprint race 1 will be determined by reversing the top 10 finishes of Friday's qualifying session results. Lastly, the starting grid of Saturday's sprint race 2 will be determined by reversing the top 10 finishes of sprint race 1. So now we're talking about the points that are given out in both sprint races. The top 8 finishers will be awarded points, starting from 15 points going down to 1 point, while the top 10 finishers of the features will score like normal points as we've got in a normal Formula 1 race. The biggest difference to Formula 1 is that everyone will be racing with the same material, meaning the chassis and engine is the same for everyone, and no changes on the aero parts of the cars are allowed.
So there are a few changes between F1 and F2 according when it comes to sprint races. But
yeah,
it's not new to the whole sport.
No.
Unless you have never seen F2, then it would be new for you.
Exactly.
So what do we think of the sprint races?
Well, as someone who's been watching Formula 2 and also Formula 3 for the last couple of years, it's kind of difficult because, as I said before, they are racing with the same material. Like, everyone could win the race. It really comes down to the talent of the driver. But in Formula 1, we've got those top drivers like George Russell that are in, let's say, not the best car in the grid. And it's for me, it's kind of difficult because I don't see the point in doing another short race, which will basically give no points because if something goes wrong in that race, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as someone who's just getting into Formula 2, it's kind of exciting to see something new, but at the same time, I think it's a sprint race and it's even shorter, so I feel like it's always going to come down to like the fastest cars, and it just seems like, is it just giving the fastest cars and the fastest people more points, in which case it isn't doing its job of like mixing things up and giving people in like say Williams or Haas a chance.
Yeah. But I do think that with the sprint race, we could have like a whole different grid lineup, because during the race so much happens, and as Julia said, one mistake could mean that you don't even start top 10. So I do think this could be really interesting.
I think what's really helping is the free tire choice, because just imagine someone's going for the soft and another team is going for the mediums, and are they allowed to stop? They are they? I'm not sure.
I think so, but it's not, you don't have to.
You don't have to. There's not a, so it's basically the same in Formula 2 with the sprint races. There's no mandatory pit stop, but in 2017, Charles Leclerc pitted and he overtook the whole grid and won the race. I don't think that's possible in Formula 1.
No, but
it could help.
Yes, for sure.
So because they're like, maybe this free tire choice gives it a little bit more spice. At least that's what I'm hoping for. Because you know, there are drivers that are really good with their tires and drivers that are not really good with their tires. And it's like one stint instead of like 2 or 3 stints we normally we get with the normal race. So I kind of like, I wish for this to be something good for the sport, but like now before the race, I'm still a little bit skeptical.
Yeah, I just hope that they will keep it, that they have this year just a few sprint races, but keep the original weekend like schedule and everything. Because I'm not sure if I would like to see sprinters every weekend.
No,
like the whole time schedule is so messed up. We have qualifying at freaking 7 p.m.
on a Friday.
Wow.
Yeah, I think
I'm sorry, but I've got better things to do now. I don't.
It's just gonna be so confusing, like qualifying on a Friday, later times,
and then after qualifying, you have another free practice on the Saturday.
Basically, that's so weird. Like you've got free practice, you've got qualifying, then you got another free practice, and
another qualifying.
Sprint quali race, sprint whatever.
Yes,
so yeah, if you're really chaotic and unorganized like us, you might struggle a bit.
Yes, you will struggle. Not just a bit. You will struggle.
Yeah,
not just a bit.
Not just a bit, because I swear to God, I'll be so confused. I'm so glad we're doing this episode now, because now I got the time schedule in my head. Otherwise, I would probably mess it up. So if you're chaotic like us, have a look at the schedule right here. So I talked about this with my roommates, obviously, but I think things would get more interesting if we would also work with I think things could get more interesting if we also would work with a reverse grid as we do in Formula 2 and Formula 3. Like, we would done some thinking, because even if you just do a reverse grid with the first 10 drivers, it would be so much fun. We were thinking do it with the first 15 drivers.
Ooh. I like that idea.
But if you do it with the first 15 and Mazepin has a good run,
do you really think that will happen?
You never know.
Okay,
he's not as bad as a good run. No, and he's not as bad as a driver as everyone is saying. Of course, he spins, but he's
also
driver.
A rookie. He's a rookie still.
Have you seen Yuki? That man.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if Mazepin has a good run and he ends 15th or he qualifies 15th, he will start pole position. I cannot handle Mazepin on pole position because it's going to be a mess. I don't
Would be
want that.
fun though.
No.
No, just
The
no.
whole top 10 will be taken out by him.
Maybe George Russell would finally get his points then.
Let's not get
Said
our
what I
hopes up.
said.
Let's not get our hopes up because every time we think George will get points.
Yeah. I mean, we
Yeah.
would all do Williams some good because we agreed on getting
Yeah.
merged once
Yes.
George scores points. So
And once they restock the merch in sizes that
Yeah.
actually fit
Yes.
us instead of freaking tents that you can sleep in.
yeah. So if someone of Williams watching this, please make sure to restock your merch before George actually gets scored points.
Yes.
We're just
Yeah,
here
because
to
there
help
are a
you.
lot of us
really.
who are ready
Yeah.
to buy some.
we have a whole Discord server full of 200 girls that are ready to buy merch. So make sure you
Please
restock.
do so.
Um,
Yeah.
no, but I really hope to see George in the points
Yeah.
anytime soon, honestly.
And I still think that they should give the reverse grid a thought. Even if it's just the first 10 or 8, maybe even the first 8 drivers, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
also struggling.
I mean,
Go
if
on.
the sprint races, if they can try those sprint races, why not try the reverse grid as well? I mean,
Exactly.
there's no harm in trialing it, and it might turn out to
Exactly.
be great.
Exactly. So yeah, I would love to see reverse grid sometime.
Same. And, like, it's still a half decent. No, it's a qualifying, not a race. So, but
Yeah.
still, I'm struggling with only the first three people getting points.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a lot of points, but
It's
we've
still
had
points.
championships where half a point was the
Yeah.
decision
Yes.
maker, and it's
Exactly.
where things are going now with Lewis and Max. It's coming really tight, and just imagine one of them having a bad weekend and the other one taking pole position, starting first, and everything might. And
Having
then
a
these
free
extra 3
choice of
points.
tires. in the
Exactly.
sprint races. So,
Yeah. But not to be too pessimistic, I hope that this will turn out good for the sport.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. And also, I just want it to turn out good because they're doing it in Silverstone, which is one of the most historic, one of the best
Yes.
weekends, and I just don't want it to be ruined. And I think they're also doing it at
Yeah.
Monza.
Yeah, and
So
Interlagos.
yeah, I'm just really hoping it works.
Yeah.
Just going for all the great tracks.
Yes.
Yeah,
we could
they
have done
do.
it at Paul Ricard for
Or Sochi.
exactly because those races suck.
Yes.
The tracks suck. Just
But I think the reason why they didn't do it is because Silverstone, Monza, and Interlagos are tracks where overtaking is kind of easier. And when you're doing
Yeah,
a sprint
yeah.
race where you don't have to look after your tires that much, you just go full throttle all the time. I think that was their move, I think that was their movement behind doing that.
yeah, probably.
Choosing those 3 tracks instead of tracks that are really boring because you can't overtake there.
Yeah.
Even though
probably.
France was halfway decent this year.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was good. For French
Yeah.
terms,
For-
it was a good race.
Yeah, that's true. Definitely. So now that we're talked about everything regarding the sprint qualifying, let us know your opinion on sprint qualies down below. Make sure to follow all of our social medias. They're all linked
Below.
below. We hope you liked this episode, and we will see you next time, and enjoy the sprint quali.